Welcome back to Coffee with Yvonne, a show for creatives and entrepreneurs. I'm Yvonne Pearson, your host and darling, the founder of Pink Doll House Marketing. And can we first, before we get into the show, can we get into my nails? Can we talk about it? Because yesterday's price is not today's price when it comes to my nail budget. So your girl had to pull out the press-ons because I couldn't look at bare hands no more. It's just not me. It's just not me. And if you know me well enough, you know I keep my hands done. Now my feet, that when it's winter, we pause on the pedicures, but my hands, I like to keep a good color on there. So I decided just to go ahead and put the press-ons on before I can, until I can get another appointment per se. But also too, because the nail prices at the shops have gone up recently. Have you noticed that? I've noticed it. I've noticed it. Hence why we're doing press-ons for this week. Between Kendrick Lamar's concert, going to Cowboy Carter twice, and my birthday coming up, budgets had to be cut. Budgets had to be cut. But we still cute though. But that's not why we're here. We are here because we are doing another Marketing Magic episode. And just to let you know, this is, let's see, we have 2 more episodes after this before I go on summer hiatus. I'm going to keep saying that because I don't want there to be any surprises when you hear the hiatus message between end of June and mid-September, because I'm going to be outside. It's cancer season. Cancer season is coming up, okay? And I have things planned, including Kendrick, Beyonce, and them for my birthday, as well as spending time with friends and family, and to give myself an opportunity to creatively recharge. So on this week's show, we're going to do our topics for Marketing Magic. We're going to talk about purpose, pride, and power, unlocking Sephora's Pride campaign, from kitchen to cart, Capital City's Mambo Sauce, Costco breakthrough, and then finally, US Open Grand Slam, when history serves brand power. So grab your coffee and let's chat. I did my usual concoction. There's actually coffee in here today, y'all. Look at that growth. I did my usual concoction, which is the Starbucks unsweetened iced coffee. You can buy it at the grocery stores. Roughly, depends on where you go, but it's about $5-ish a bottle. And I also did my Chobani sweet creamer. Now, I'm a die on this hill. Chobani sweet creamer is some of the best creamer I've ever had for my coffee and is a personal favorite of mine. Okay, in our first story, we're going to talk about Sephora's Pride campaign. And if you see me looking down at my screen, it's because I bring notes to the conversation so we can have an informed and engaged chat. So first up, let's talk about where we got the source from for this story, because we always have to make sure we cite our sources. This story came from Cosmetic Business, and in pulling an excerpt from the source, Sephora has unveiled a new campaign in collaboration with Haus Labs by Lady Gaga. You know Lady Gaga, Born This Way. See me on tour. Ha! Anyway, in collaboration with Lady Gaga and Born This Way Foundation, spotlighting beauty, belonging, and mental health in celebration of Pride Month. The We Belong to Something Beautiful campaign is centered around a film featuring Lady Gaga, who articulates a vision of beauty rooted in kindness, inclusivity, and community. So let's get into those marketing takeaways. First up, let me put my coffee down because I need to use my hands. So first up, for those marketing takeaways, let's talk about the purpose-driven cause marketing that builds deeper connections. Sephora is anchoring their campaign with a genuine social purpose by supporting the LGBTQIA+ youth mental health through donating $1 from every Haus Labs purchase in June to the Born This Way Foundation. This aligns with the brand's meaningful change, tapping into consumers' desires to support companies that do good while they shop. And to go a little bit deeper into it, this is also important as we especially see companies rolling back their initiatives around inclusion and belongings and the backlash some companies have experienced by doing so. But by Sephora doing this, and also by Lady Gaga leveraging her brand and her platform as an advocate for this community, it really makes it important as we continue to see that rollback, that companies are continuing to do what I think is the right thing. Especially as a consumer, I love to see that signage that says, your purchase or a percentage of your purchase will support this foundation or this scholarship, because it gives my shopping a purpose, right? I'm no longer buying a product, I'm investing in a community. And by Sephora doing this, the people who shop that product will have the choice to invest in that community and further those initiatives along. Up next, celebrity co-branding and amplifying credibility. By leveraging Gaga's authentic voice in her Born This Way foundation, it gives that campaign instant cultural relevance and also weight behind the message. Gaga's film message, rooted in kindness, inclusion, and self-expression, it also mirrors Sephora's own brand ethos, which demonstrates how a well-matched celebrity partnership can elevate and reach new audiences and resonate with their consumers and customers. This also dives into, just to think off the top of my head, which does happen from time to time with the show, FYI, work with me here. This also ties into how, sometimes you see those brand partnerships or a celebrity launch a new foundation or charity, and the math ain't mathin' in terms of who they are and their brand platform and voice. People like Lady Gaga have stood 10 toes down about the LGBTQIA plus community for years. Her music is infused with it. She also makes sure that the people who are hired on her team are inclusive and part of various communities. So this did not come out of left field. This is who Gaga is. And celebrities and regular people alike can learn from this. They can also learn that you don't have to just slap a label on something or just say, hey, I stand for this, post your little social media message and go about your way. Your outreach and involvement in a community should align with your personal brand. For example, I'm a person who believes in inclusion and belonging, but also uplifting communities of color. It wouldn't make sense for me to launch something outside of that ethos or space that does not align for who I am as a person in my day-to-day. And also, I appreciate too that this is not just a one-time thing. Gaga's Born This Way foundation is rooted in that community-centered message. So while we see this partnership with Sephora, I guarantee that there are other things that she is doing behind the scenes, that she and her team are doing behind the scenes to further help uplift and outreach to this community to drive the conversation forward. Then, in that final takeaway, the multi-touch engagement that activates community. So the branded film plus doing classes for confidence, which are community workshops, and also doing in-store brave spaces for pride with makeovers with trained beauty ambassadors. And then finally, a call for grassroots org nominations through the month until the end, June 30th, to fuel kindness and community fun. Again, marketing, as you've seen, is continuing to evolve. Companies are no longer relying solely on social media to carry the message. Before, we saw heavy pushes on social, which was great. But as social media continued to evolve and become more crowded in various spaces, you saw companies start to do something different. That in-person engagement became more and more important to how they leverage and push their campaigns forward. By doing things like the community workshops, also having those in-store brave spaces for Pride makeovers, which Pride is a huge deal here in the DMV area. I'm actually marching again in the Pride Parade with my company this Saturday, which I'm super excited about. And my mom is coming too, y'all. Yay! But you start to see more and more that in-store engagement to drive foot traffic that hopefully will turn into sales, right? And then also, again, supporting community. Seeing things like involvement with grassroots organizations to help further their commitment also helps Sephora, again, build that, I would say, like, foundation with potential and future customers. Again, we all want to know where our money is going and also how we're going to support these companies going forward. And as we've seen with other companies, by standing 10 toes down about things around inclusion and belonging and building spaces for everyone and not just a few, the money does come in because we are faithful and we are loyal to those who are loyal to us. Okay, I'm going to put my coffee cup down for this one because I'm very excited about this next story. So again, as a girly from the DMV area, PG County stand up, I have been a fan of Capital City Mambo Sauce since I think the early launch of the product when it was only really available here in the DMV area. This next story, from kitchen to cart, how Capital City Mambo Sauce Costco breakthrough is something that warms my DMV heart to the fullest. And I should have brought my bottle that's in the refrigerator right now, but I forgot. My bad. But this story came from Because of Them We Can. And to pull a blurb from the story, what started as a kitchen experiment in DC home has now made its way to the aisles of one of the biggest retailers in the country. Capital City Mambo Sauce, the black-owned brand preserving and pushing forward the legacy of DC's most iconic condiment, is officially available in Costco stores across the DMV. While some major retailers have stepped back from supporting diverse brands, Costco continues to lead by example. That matters, especially in a city like DC, where culture and community are everything. Supporting businesses rooted in this kind of heritage isn't just a trend. It is a reflection of what an inclusive economy should look like. When a company like Costco shows up with intention, it sets a powerful example for others to follow. And that on periods. Okay? Because the DMV is a beautiful hub of Black and minority owned businesses. You cannot go, I would say, probably within maybe a 5-mile radius without running into a business that is Black or minority owned. I would even say in the community where I live, there are 3 Black owned businesses downstairs from my building. Like, I could walk out and look in the center where I live and see 3 Black owned businesses. I can drive up the street and there's a Black owned bakery. I could drive 10 minutes up the road and there's a Black owned donut shop. There's so many Black and minority owned businesses in this area that we are big on supporting, the culture and the community. Not only supporting the culture and community, but supporting businesses that deserve to be supported. There is a spot that I go to on a regular basis here in the area that I constantly support, in a soul food restaurant that's family owned that has, I think, 1 location now, called Keith and Sons, that I recommend every time someone comes to this area and they're looking for good soul food. Keith and Sons is one of my favorite spots to go to. Getting back to the story, Capital City Mambo Sauce is considered one of the only Mambo Sauce that is actually DMV stamped and approved for sold in stores. Mambo Sauce, to give you a background story, it started out essentially as a condiment that you could buy, you could get in a curry out. I sound so DMV, in a carry out. And it was something that wasn't specifically created by one person, right? It just kind of became part of the cultural ethos of this area. And until recently, when Capital City Mambo Sauce took their recipe and created it and then scaled it into a business, the only way you could get it is when you went to go pick up your order from the carryout or from that one wing spot that you usually go to. And, excuse me, they were having that plastic bottle next to, the barbecue sauce and the ketchup for you to put over your wings and fries. Because that's how we do our wings around here. You put it over your wings and fries or your fried rice, right? It's a thing, let it go. But for us, Capital City Mambo Sauce represents more than just a condiment in the area, right? It represents, again, the core of who we are. So let's get into those marketing takeaways. 1, leveraging strategic retail partnerships for scale. Capital City's move to Costco aisles demonstrates how securing shelf space in a national retailer can exponentially broaden a niche brand's reach, moving it from local carryouts to a multi-state presence virtually overnight. Like I mentioned before, Mambo Sauce is a cultural DC staple. A lot of folks outside the region don't even know what Mambo Sauce is, and you will get into a debate with people about if Mambo Sauce is good or not. I would not recommend doing that because we feel very strongly about our Mambo Sauce around here. But for a lot of us who are DMV bred or raised, that is just part of the culture, like New Balance sneakers and go-go music, right? So introducing that flavor to the Costco stores, which can eventually expand into a national distribution, is a big deal, especially, again, because it's such a niche product. You have barbecue sauce, which is everywhere, but Mambo Sauce is specifically region based. Now, there are some arguments that Chicago started Mambo Sauce, but we're not going to go there right now because that's not their time to shine. It's ours. Thank you. Then let's talk about anchoring your brand voice for authentic storytelling. By weaving in those DMV roots, the late night curry outs, family recipes, cultural heritage in every bottle, Capital City transforms a condiment into a narrative experience. This story-first approach, it forges a deeper connection and elevates the product beyond more than just a condiment on your food. By telling the story of the DMV, by being a Black-owned business, by being a business that actually went through a personal hardship, if I recall, the husband and wife team that started Capital City Mambo Sauce, the husband passed unexpectedly, and she had to carry the brand forward. And you should have seen the way the community rallied behind her to make sure that Capital City Mambo Sauce continue forward and continue to have that impact within our community. That's what we do here in the DMV. There's a reason why our small businesses are still thriving. The ones that deserve to still be thriving because of the quality of the product that they give to their customers. There's a reason why it still works. There's a reason why Capital City Mambo Sauce is such a staple in DMV culture. There's a reason why it's not hot sauce in my bag like Beyonce said. I used to carry around a mini Capital City Mambo Sauce in my purse. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. When I came back from, I think it was Essence Fest or one of those bigger events, and they were handing out Mambo Sauce at their booth, I took more than one, and I used to carry it around in my purse because I needed that Capital City Mambo Sauce on my food wherever I went. But there's a reason why those businesses have our support, because not only do we support them, we rally behind them and make sure that they have what they need to thrive and move forward. Finally, in our marketing takeaways, let's talk about aligning with inclusive values to differentiate the product in the market. While some retailers are retreating again, inclusion and belonging is a theme here. While some retailers are retreating from diverse suppliers, Costco's intentional support of Black-owned brands like Capital City sends a powerful message about corporate responsibility. Positioning your product with this inclusive economy framework not only resonates with purpose-driven consumers, but also attracts partners committed to diversity. And I'm not going to say the name of the company I'm thinking about right now, but there's a reason why Costco is seeing growth with their membership enrollments and foot traffic and interest in people shopping at Costco, and another company that we used to be loyal to because we thought they were loyal to us is not. In our final story, US Open Grand Slam marketing move. Now let's talk about this source because it came directly from the US Open. And as I mentioned before on the podcast, y'all, it is great to get your news sources and to make sure that they are credible news sources before sharing them on various platforms. And I work to make sure that whatever information I am pulling from comes from a credible media source. So this came directly from the US Open's website, and I believe I put it underneath their media press section of their page, which if you're ever looking for official website announcements, it should be underneath that category to find what you're looking for in terms of information outside of what's posted on social media to verify that source. So to pull an excerpt from the article, it states, in 2025, the US Open theme is 75 years of breaking barriers, celebrating Gibson and the anniversary of her stepping onto the court at the Westside Tennis Club in Forest Hills, New York. This message will be displayed prominently throughout the grounds of the USTA Billie Jean King National Tennis Center through vibrant and unique theme art by Melissa Colby, the first Black theme artist in tournament history. To pull a quote from Melissa, she says, "I wanted the heart of the matter, to the central part of this piece, to be a tennis court because that's where she thrived. However, when you look closely, each layer tells more of the story while adding visual depth, from the Statue of Liberty, representing New York, and the Tiffany trophies the players are competing for. For example, Gibson won the U.S. Nationals in 1957 and 1958, to Arthur Ashe Stadium, named for the legendary champion and civil rights activist." And if you haven't seen this poster, it is a beautiful, beautifully done poster with multi-layers. And I hope they turn it into merch, by the way, because that'd be real cute. on a t-shirt or like a tennis bag or something. And I don't even play tennis like that. I just took my first tennis lesson probably like earlier this year. I went to City Girls Serve, which is like a networking group here in the DMV area where you can learn tennis basics and network with people. It's real cute. It's real cute. But I really love how tennis has continued to evolve over the years. When I was younger, the main stars for tennis were Serena and Venus Williams, and then now for the newer generation, it's Coco Gauff and others. But to see the poster, to imagine it, it has multiple layers of what appears to be the outline of Althea Gibson. And Althea Gibson being one of the early Black tennis players who is renowned for, her tennis prowess and expertise. It was a really beautiful way to pay homage and honor her. So let's get into those marketing takeaways. First up, leveraging historical legacy to enhance brand identity. Again, as I mentioned, by celebrating Althea Gibson, the first African American to compete in the U.S. National Championships, the U.S. Open is reinforcing their commitment to diversity and inclusion. This approach not only honors a trailblazer, but also aligns the tournament's brand with the values of progress and equality, resonating with a broad audience and enhancing its cultural relevance. Like I stated before, people like Althea Gibson, we should have given her flowers back in the day, but considering how there's so much erasure around Black history that's trying to happen right now, people like Althea Gibson, we need to talk about more and more to preserve that history, to know how far we've gone, but how far we need to go. While Serena and Venus Williams have made huge steps in terms of amplifying tennis in Black and people of color spaces, Althea Gibson and also Arthur Ashe are people who were the foundational building blocks to getting them there. By honoring her and others in this poster, it is paying homage to that history and especially solidifying the importance of where we have gone and how much further we have to go. Then, let's talk about integrating art and technology for immersive fan engagement. The inclusion of a sculpture of Althea Gibson is complemented by an AR or augmented reality experience that's only accessible via the US Open mobile app. This creates an interactive platform for fans. The fusion of art and technology offers a dynamic storytelling medium, allowing for attendees to engage deeply with Gibson's legacy and the tournament's history, thereby enriching the overall fan experience. And as, again, I've shared on this pod many times before, but the mergence between marketing and technology, I love to see it because that shows how marketing is, again, evolving as an industry. Marketing, as limited as people think it is more than just social media. There's a lot of things that involve tech, in-person engagement, etc., that you're starting to see more and more to make sure that those marketing strategies being pushed out have overall impact. It's no longer just about if something is cool or if it looks dope on someone's channel, whatever. You want to make sure that you're driving conversations and driving experience that will hopefully turn into user-generated content and also return on the investment. So butts and seats, essentially. So what I love is by including this on the US Open app, they are basically making people have to download the app in order to have that experience. And if you know, it's kind of a best kept secret. If you really want to know, that is by design. By controlling the channel in which you have the experience, you have no choice but to download the US Open app itself to see that content. Therefore, now you're increasing the amount of people downloading your app and also the amount of awareness about your app. And you're then able to take that traffic and show it in your reports, but also drive additional messaging through that content. Essentially, the US Open app is part of the campaign rollout and their strategy. They're able to now take that information and say, hey, we not only share this information about the AR reality experience, but we also push things like, the future matches, future things like that, just to let people know what's going on with the event and to keep them engaged outside of social media. Especially considering, too, that sometimes in these apps, you have to use your email to sign up. I mean, of course, there's like one-step sign up through Apple or maybe through Google, But once they have that information, if you do not opt out to subscribe, you're then going to receive curated messages from the app to your email. And those push notifications on top of that. So now the US Open folks have not only gotten you to download the app, but now are able to engage with you outside of that channel to further the conversation and engagement through various mediums or through various channels. And to continue our discussion about expanding the narrative through diverse media channels, like I mentioned before with augmented reality, by the US Open extending their initiative beyond visual art, it encompasses a virtual screening as well of the documentary Althea and a live panel discussion featuring prominent figures in tennis and academia. This multi-channel storytelling, the strategy not only educates audiences about Gibson's impact, but also fosters community engagement, which also positions the US Open as a platform for meaningful conversations around sports and social progress. And I love the fact that this is very smart because, again, we're taking the campaign, not living directly on social media to carry the message. We saw in the examples provided, we have the poster, which ties in visual storytelling for the campaign. So by using Althea Gibson as the main image or, the inspo behind the powerful poster that has started to roll out, we also saw the US Open incorporate their app to foster that engagement through creative storytelling. We'll see a full rollout on social media through the campaign. And I wouldn't be surprised if they tie in, key tennis stars like Coco, Serena, etc., into the campaign storytelling, especially considering it's a 75th anniversary. And then finally, by doing again that in-person engagement through a virtual screening of the documentary and having that live panel discussion with prominent figures in tennis, it really brings that multi-channel approach full circle. Thinking through the on-site piece that might happen at the US Open, I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be some kind of pop-up engagement in which you can maybe do, and this is just me thinking off the top of my head, maybe like a virtual interview with Althea. Of course, it'll be AI prompted, so it won't be like a free interview for you to ask whatever you want. But maybe like doing some kind of virtual reality or augmented reality engagement with Althea herself in a virtual space where you put like a headset on or something like that. I also wouldn't be surprised if they do something around taking the posters themselves and inviting people to design maybe tennis, tote bags or t-shirts or something like that using the core creative, which the core creative is the poster image that was created. So that's what we consider a core creative once it's approved, but then you can resize it or reuse it for various platforms. But I wouldn't be surprised if they use that core creative to then invite people to create their own merchandise using the core creative from the campaign at the event. Then I wouldn't also be surprised if there's going to be some charitable aspect tied to this campaign as well. It makes sense to me. It makes sense to partner with maybe like a grassroots organization that supports, inclusivity in tennis or providing tennis lessons to underserved communities, or maybe even donating tennis supplies or revamping a tennis court in communities across the country or across the world to bring more people to the court and experience tennis as a sport for our upcoming youth or those who want to be tennis enthusiasts. There's a lot of stuff you could do for this campaign, and I'm pretty sure the team at the US Open has already thought about it, but I'll be interested to see what they do themselves to help further and drive that community and outreach engagement. Okay, so those are our stories for today, and I know it was a quick chat, but don't forget, we have, after this, 2 more episodes of Coffee with Yvonne before the summer hiatus. I hope you enjoyed today's chat. Don't forget to follow Coffee with Yvonne on Instagram and Threads at Coffee with Yvonne. You can sign up for my newsletter to get personalized audio and content that you cannot get from the pod, y'all, or from social media. You can find that link in the show notes. And then also for my personal account, you can find me on Instagram and TikTok, aka the Clock app, at Yvonne_creative marketer. And to learn more about me and my business, you can go ahead and go to pinkdollhousemarketing.com. .com, because I own my domain. I own it. I'm a mess. Or you can find me on Instagram at Pink Doll House Marketing. You can slide into my DMs. That's cool. And of course, creative, to close our show out with what I say to you basically every week. Remember to keep showing up, keep creating, and that your voice matters. I'll talk to you next time on Coffee with Yvonne. I cannot wait to chat with you soon. Okay, bye! Coffee with Yvonne is produced and edited by Yvonne Pearson. Coffee with Yvonne is created by Pink Doll House Marketing. You can catch the latest episodes by subscribing to Apple Podcasts